morning. It's Arlo Johnson from Vernon, British Columbia at 10 a.m. from Vernon, BC in the beautiful Okanagan Valley. So I'd like to mention something today that I've thought of several times, I guess, but never got around to talking about it, is the business of, well, it's ongoing now, is the saving the planet scenario. Now that, it's going to get so that if you say anything about that, they're going to, shut you down, do whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to say something about it while I still can. And it's the thing that it's so ridiculous what develops. For instance, right now, they get together and they call it consensus science. 12 of us agree what it is, that's what it is. And you can't argue with it. No, there's nothing scientific about it, but you can't argue about it. And that's what goes on in a large scale now. Like, for instance, the amount of people who have belonged to churches, whatever, prayed the Ten Commandments, or not Ten Commandments, prayed to God, whatever, and they said something like similar to this, that our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, blah, blah, blah. What does that mean? If that's the case, if you believe that, that means you must be a son or a daughter. Now, if that's the case, then you have to believe what he says. Here's the thing. God has determined that this planet is only going to last for a certain amount of time. It's a disposable planet. Whether people like to believe that or not. If you don't believe in God, you don't believe that. But anyway, it is. And it's even greater than that. He says that he will, there will be a new heaven and a new earth. That means all the universe is going to disappear. And he says, I will create a new heaven and a new earth. Now, the thing about the earth and people living on the earth, people now say, oh no, you can't drill for oil if that'll create CO2. You got to do this because that'll create CO2. You can't have plastic bags because they don't dispose in the landfill very good. But everything you were putting in a plastic bag was all plastic. But you can't put it in a bag. Makes sense, doesn't it? Well, anyway, I'm positive that God placed all the things that human nature needed in this planet, like oil and gas, minerals, dirt, black dirt, timber, mining stuff. Do you know that the people in say, Africa, the reason that they don't, get out of their poverty kind of thing is their lack of energy. They don't have energy. They're a primitive thing. And I'm sure that they've got just as much energy there as we have here. But they don't develop it. And then we have all the kind of people that, go along with that. Like all the people now that want to practice paganism. The Indians are pagan. They believe in birds and bears and the Great Spirit. Well, that's part of that, most likely right there, but they don't apply it the right way. And God has said perfectly clear. He said, not to worship a graven image. And that's all they're about. They just hauled back a totem pole from Scotland or something that's been there for hundreds of years, and they had to return it to this tribe, and a great deal on worshipping this totem pole and blah, blah, blah. I have no feelings for anything like that at all. And yet, it's too bad. But I'm of the opinion, it's just my opinion, you don't have to believe it, but I believe the Indians and North American Indians, whatever else, are from the sixth-day creation, when God created them all male and female, and obviously black and yellow and red and white and whatever. They're not part of the Adamic race, because that was a lot later. If you remember or read, it said that God created male and female, and then he rested. He had a Sabbath rest or something. Well, how long was that? A day to God is 1,000 years. Well, did he rest for a week? A month? I don't know. It could have been a long time. While all these people were multiplying and multiplying on the earth. Now, then he creates Adam, because he said he could not find a farmer, basically, or a husband out of all these people. And if you think about it, the Indians roamed North America for thousands of years. They didn't they didn't plant crops like the white man does. They maybe planted a little corn someplace. They did not develop things. Like, I mean, they are hunters and fishers, and that's basically what it said the sixth-day creation would be. And, therefore they just roamed from one area to another. They can't say they didn't, because they did. And they'd fight each other, tribes for whatever, take one over, get rid of another one. They were warring tribes. And they never built a road. Didn't do anything. Some places on the coast they built some kind of buildings of some kind, but never went any farther than that. So they go on about things like that, like saving the planet has got to be the biggest stupid lie you ever heard. That's not going to happen. It's going to make people suffer. They're going to suffer like hell, because they will not believe that it's God's plan to wind this planet down and to finish his deal. He's most likely has had enough people born, which he can call sons and daughters, over 100 billion by now, I would think. And maybe that's his figure. And that'd be quite a few. Not all are going to be in his kingdom, but he said he didn't want anyone to perish. But unless they do it to themselves. He said he won't condemn them, but he will allow them to condemn themselves. And that's what people are doing now. They want to believe things that God hates, his commandments and his laws, and they're going to suffer for it. There's no two ways about that. They think that, God wouldn't do this, wouldn't do that. He will, because he is not a man. God is a spiritual being of some kind who is omnipresent. That means he's everywhere at all times. He fills, most likely, his spirit fills the universe practically. Because he's everywhere at once. And if there's 8 billion people on the planet, he knows what 8 billion people are thinking. And he knows that I'm saying these words right now. And there is a hard difference between people who think they're going to be a good person or, oh, I've got to quit this or got to quit that. Well, that's a good idea. I mean, that is supposed to be as a result of believing in him. But it's not the cause of him allowing you to be saved or whatever. No, nothing. I can't do a thing, neither can you, to justify being claimed as a son of God or well, sure, it wouldn't be a son of God. There won't be any women in the kingdom of God eventually. But it is his doing totally. Not, I could give everything I had. I could go to church 100 times a day. Doesn't matter on one iota. I could belong to all the good things and we're going to do this and we're going to support that. And I support this and that and that and that. Forget it. Doesn't work. It's over and above. God is over and above all that and has his own way of doing, but he has to know what people can say that, oh, I believe in God and Jesus and all that. He knows how sincere you are. If, rubber hits the road, whether you're there or not. And that's what it's all about. You know that. And he does know that. The part about what God does and what we do, two different things altogether. Altogether. You know, it's a pretty amazing thing to see what God has loaded this planet with. You know, when I've been on a few cruises and stuff, when I get out on the Pacific Ocean and I look at the water, and I look at that water, and I've said this before. I mean, if you've watched my podcast, you know I've said this before. To me, that is one of the biggest miracles there is on this planet. Where did all the water come from? Water above us, water below us, water on the surface. There's just as much water up above us as there is below us, I'm sure. Tons of water. And in the new world to come, which is going to be a lot bigger than this one, there is no sea. There is no ocean or sea. How about that? There is no sun or moon. No, none of that. There's a new heavens and a new earth, but there's no sun or moon and no sea. It says a great river will run out of the city of God, out into the planet. Now, the city of God is 1,500 miles square, so there's lots of room for a river to run out of there. It'd be a pretty big river. And, it's amazing to contemplate what that new world might be like. For instance, it's a world that has a city so large it can hold most likely billions of people. Now, if people aren't physically taking up a space, how much space does a spiritual being need? Is it very much, or is it just, one can slide into another one, or what? I think they would need space. So how many could be in this huge, huge city? I imagine lots. The thing is, it's hard to imagine how you could live without, where there's no sickness and no pain. Like I mean, just about 90 years old now. I got a pain here, pain there, back pain and hips, and even it's getting so that if I'm laying in bed, my back aches. You know, bah. I got to figure out something for that, and I might have to pray about it. I've talked about that before. You know, if you believe in prayer, it's a good thing because it's there. God has made it available to every single person on this planet. A lot of people don't take advantage of it. You got to believe it works, and then it works. Just like he said, you have to believe it. And that's the hard thing for people to understand. What is so important about this believing business? It is. That's the criteria he goes by. Yeah, don't talk to me unless you believe in me. Blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, he's very insistent on the fact that you, as a son or a daughter, are supposed to love him. Love him more than anything else. And love your neighbor as yourself. That is a nutshell of the whole deal. And you have to ask yourself sometimes, do I really love God that much? Or how do I do that? You know? But if you work on it and pray about it, I think it will develop. Because you start to realize that that is the only power that actually works in this universe. The rest is false stuff. It just pops up, drops down, changes. The human race comes up with every kind of scheme you can think about to run things, and they all fail. They just fail, 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 fail. And that's why the good news is that Jesus brought is that he said the kingdom of God is here, is nigh. And he paid the price to make it work. That was decided a long, long time ago, before there was any world, before there was time, before there was anything, before there was you and I or any thought of you or I. Well, there was thought of you or I, because that's why it was decided. Can you imagine agreeing to that? That's a tough thing. That's why a person has to say, we owe everything to Jesus Christ for doing that, agreeing to do that, and understanding a simple fact that God's law is supreme. We don't make the laws. We don't say, I don't want that. No, I don't believe in that. That's crazy. No. We don't have that right. We don't have that power. We can try to say it, but it's all BS. We don't. Only God has that power. And he says his law is supreme. Can't be broken by anyone. From what I understand, it will always exist. And the penalty for breaking it is death. Death for a species that he created. And he said, if you break these laws, the penalty is death. I'm sorry. But he said to his son, to the Word, who became his son, that would he be willing to pay the price for him creating all these beings who would most likely break the law and would not be able to, he wouldn't be able to save one. So he had to have someone to take their place for all the mistakes they made and realize that they could ask for forgiveness on account of that. And then they could then turn out to be his sons and daughters on the planet Earth, and later just sons in his kingdom. Because he's not going to have two sexes in his kingdom. Not going to have that problem that he had on earth here. Now, there's nothing to, that's not a detriment to women. Women will be changed into sons of God, same as men will be changed into sons of God. So there's nothing wrong with that. God's is fair as fair can be. He's just. There's nothing more just than he is. But that kind of scares people too, because, my God, a just judge? Ugh. Good and bad. Oh, yeah, that's, you know, I'm getting to the age where, you know, I'm going to run out of steam one of these days. And one thing I think people, you know, if I could leave a note or something for them is, don't count on you being a good guy or a good woman, if that's going to do anything for you. Not at all. That's hard to swallow, but that's a fact. God says that's a fact. Unless you love God and you believe in Jesus Christ and you ask him for forgiveness and say, I thank you for sending Jesus to die in my place. Then he says, okay, thank you, you have fulfilled the requirement. But he'll know if you're serious or not. He'll know if you love your neighbor, love him. That means somebody that could live in his kingdom forever. Without that, no. There's a no vacancy sign up then. So, you know, the older I get and whatever else, I just think that God's plans for things are way simpler than we realize. You know, God doesn't have airplanes. God doesn't have submarines, armies. He has armies, but none of that. He's got his natural things that he uses: air, fire, water, and hail, and brimstone, and all kinds of things. And then he'll turn around and feed a whole nation for, I don't know, months and months and months. Feed them. And take them across rivers and lakes to escape from their captors. And he followed them, it says, as a pillar of smoke during the day and a pillar of fire at night. And obviously that was Jesus doing that. So it's a pretty wonderful place you've been put in, and I've been put in. And many of us don't have a clue or understand it at all. We just think we get up and do this and do that and go to bed and get up and do this and whatever. And then we're surprised when we die and somebody dies. What I always get is if you say somebody died, oh, who died? Oh, well, George died, you know. Oh, that's too bad, yes. Hi, are we going to town now or what? You know, what the heck? People have a built-in sort of a bias against their own death. They think it's just other people who die. We all die, every single one. And, you know, I'm going to go for lunch here in about an hour. I'm looking forward to it again. I don't know how many lunches they'll have. How many lunches they'll still have. Who knows? Supposed to go on a cruise on December 5th. I hope that happens. Kind of looking forward to that. But in the meantime, all I can do is say, man, it's nice to have met you. I guess in a way, I've met you. And God bless you, and realize how important you are to God. We've forgotten it. People forget that. Thank you very much. Goodbye.